So, Hanumatpresaka Swami, nice to see you here at the conference.
Well, it's nice to be here, Kenneth.
Did you have some favorites in the conference? Favorite presentations? Perhaps your own?
No, actually, for me, it was very enlightening to see all the different perspectives on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mm-hmm. For me, it was a very new experience. Because coming from our Gaudiya Vaishnava ISKCON tradition, we have one view of the Bhagavatam, but I'm realizing it was a document considered with great intensity by many, many other traditions like that and so on.
What is the Bhagavata Purana? Can you give us a nutshell introduction?
If I can give it a nutshell Bhagavata Purana.
Not a nutshell Bhagavata, but a nutshell explanation of what is the Bhagavata.
Okay. As far as I understand, the presentation is that we all need sound, we all need information, we all need education, right? To be happy in this life or to deal with things. And if you're a Boy Scout, the Boy Scouts of America, they have little things they teach you about how to act and so forth and so on. And so in a broader perspective, we see Confucius giving his analectics. We see 100,001 Arabian Nights. We see so many places where people have given like how to live and all these kind of things. And then the Bhagavata is coming out of this whole Vedic tradition, and it's the ripened fruit of the whole thing. So for those people who are really looking for the highest education in life, that's the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Vedic tradition?
Yes.
Veda.
Veda. Yeah.
What is that?
Okay. Again, the word Sanskrit, as far as I understand the word Veda, can be interpreted differently, but usually it means knowledge or wisdom, like that. So this would be the entire culture of a culture of wisdom and introspection, like that.
Which originates where?
Before the creation of the universe.
Oh, okay.
Coming from the creator of the universe, like that, right? He creates the universe, creates the prison house, creates the mental hospital, and along with that, he also gives the instruction manual, the basic principles, and that's the Veda. How to understand where you are and what you're doing here. Yeah.
So the Bhagavata Purana, as we have it today, the Sanskrit written text, we understand is at least 1,000 years old. And here we are, at least 1,000 years later, and we're talking about a book.
Yeah.
So old. Why are we talking about this? Why is this so interesting?
Because it has content, right? Because it has value. Our whole institute is the North American Institute for Oriental and Classical Studies. And so this is the point that a classical literature is one which maintains relevance and important value over time. It's one definition of a classic, like that. And so for different groups or for a broad range of people. So the Vedas, the Bhagavata Purana, is, I take many times because of my acting background. I can put the stories in there in modern context and make them seemingly very much real. And I see people reacting with very strong emotions, about what's going on. So the Bhagavatam is presenting archetypal stories. Every single psychological circumstance we can encounter is in Srimad Bhagavatam. And so if we develop this feeling for all these things, we go through life with this divine perspective in every situation, like that. Now that's a book worth reading.
Wow. You speak of going through life. We often speak of this as a journey.
Okay.
And in Indian sacred texts, we hear a lot about pathways, marga, and especially the bhakti marga, devotional path, which is very much what the Bhagavata is about. Can you say a bit about bhakti, what that is?
Well, myself, reading the literature and so on, it's a good taxonomy, it's a good way to analyze things. That some people, their perspective is that if you just get the right combination of things, I know one fellow, he was a lawyer, his father had been married to his mother, and after that he'd been married to another woman and had a long relation with 2 more women. So he was totally shocked when he told them, well, Tom, I think I finally found the right girl. this idea of finding the right combination of things, which we call karmi. And so someone says, no, you're never going to find the right combination of material things that will give you satisfaction. So that path is in the path of wisdom, or gyan, which without love or devotion or dedication or sacrifice also doesn't satisfy the self. This is the question, whether or not what we are we entities meant to acquire a peaceful situation of comprehension, or are we active lovers, right? Out to serve nature, right? Serve people. And ultimately, is there a supreme enjoyer who just is the most lovable? So the Bhakti Marg is something,
path.
Marg path.
Yeah.
It's described all over the world by different people like that, in the Christian tradition, Muslim tradition. So many ways people talk about this, of giving yourself, sacrificing, and this being the satisfaction. But who to give to, who to sacrifice to? So the Bhagavatam goes through this very broad analysis of looking at different personalities and so on. Yeah.
We have a rather negative connotation of the word sacrifice nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Isn't it?
Some ways, yeah. But it's still in the sense of a mother sacrificing herself for her children. In that sense, we see it, Yeah.
Could I ask a somewhat personal question?
Well, I'm not sure, but go ahead.
You've been reading the Bhagavatam for at least the last 40 years.
Yes.
So that means you already know what's coming next. There's no kind of what happens next surprise or whatever.
Yeah.
But you keep reading it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And also, with 40 years of reading the same book, do you feel there's some sort of a progression yourself along the path of bhakti?
I would say that
for yourself?
The Vedic perspective is more that education, life is more like a spiral. Our German view is like one line, one direction, never come back. But this is more like discuss the sun comes up, the sun goes down. We meet people again and again, but each time higher. So this perspective of a spiral, I think, is more the view of life that the Bhagavatam is promoting. And so because of that, you can go through and read the Bhagavatam, and then you read it again, and look at it from what you studied before. It's iconographic type thinking. And so it becomes more and more profound. Hermann Hesse, one famous author, was saying these Indians have stuck with their reincarnation and their Bhagavad Gita. They haven't made any progress. But Hesse was saying, that actually this is a very good thing. And they've taken something and they made it more profound, more deep like that, and so on. So Hermann Hesse one time was being interviewed by a very, very famous diplomat author, and he was saying, this author, that actually Hesse said, I never went to India, but my father and grandfather were there, and from them I learned to love the God Krishna. He says that. And the person is criticizing the Indians have stuck with their karma and their Bhagavad Gita they haven't advanced. And Hesse was saying, no, this is a good thing. Take something good and just look at it again and again from different perspectives, different angles. I mean, how many times do we eat ice cream? Well, I did that. No, you go through again and again because you need it again and again, and you're a different person, and so on. So that's what I would say. And definitely, yes, I can see that my perception of the world is different. I perceive the world differently than I used to see it, like that, and so on.
In a better way, I would presume.
Better. I wouldn't actually say
not better.
Well, more broad, more intelligently. Yeah.
The Bhagavata Purana is very much about Krishna. What can we say about what the Bhagavata is telling us about Krishna?
Oh my goodness. I would say that the Bhagavata is being spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, right? And Maharaj Parikshit in this world, in a Vedic world 5,000 years ago when things were different, but even still in this world. So therefore it's talking about different incarnations of God that he will be familiar with. Different avatars, and different mystical potencies that he'll be familiar with in his culture, his ability. And then it's time to come to bringing Krishna as that personality who has to be the source of all the other personal features. Then beyond that, we'll get even more esoteric things after we get out of this world and go to Goloka, the supreme abode of Krishna. It will keep expanding more and more like that. So, of course, so much religious literature is about how to live in this world and how to get out. And a little bit of preview, but if you're already out, then you're not going to be hearing this literature here and so on. So it talks about Krishna in this world, and Krishna is something what it's like in the spiritual world, beginning.
Does Krishna himself teach something in Bhagavata Purana?
Oh, of course, yeah. He's talking many times. He gives instructions to the gopis. He gives, what else? Who's else is he talking to?
Who are the gopis?
The gopis are the milkmaids. The milkmaids of Braja. And he's always giving good advice to everybody, here and there. Yeah, so many times. He gives instructions to Balaram, he gives instructions to Uddhava, on and on like that, right? Yeah.
And he dances.
And he dances, yes. He dances with the gopis and his friends in the forest. Yeah.
And he herds cows.
He herds cows. It's a good economic proposition.
Why is he so inclined to cows?
I don't know exactly. Certain things are a certain way. But as an icon, the cows are pretty much gentle, and they're not being harassed. We see in India, bulls on the street, they don't bother anybody. They defend themselves or something like that. But they're very generous animals. I had one friend one time who had a fever, and he went out lying down in this field, and he woke up and these cows had surrounded him, like looking at him and stuff, and watching him, protecting him, like that. Very motherly, cows, yeah.
Your own work, your own teaching of Bhagavata? Can you say something?
I've developed through many different angles and processes, and now what we've come to especially is trying to build a bridge between the East and the West, so everybody can take advantage of the resources and the different cultures, like that. And what's working very, very well is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, as the Bhagavata, and Carl Jung, the Jungian community, like that. And they both appreciate each other quite a bit. They're two communities like that. The Jungian community is very active still with producing literature, investigating and following Jung's ideas like that. And so we're just organized a program in South America in cooperation with the National Library called Psychology and the Sacred, and very well attended by Beverly Zabriskie, co-founder of the Jungian Society in New York, Daryl Bryant, one of the biggest professors in this whole area of interfaith dialogue, like that. Professor Ravi Gupta, Cecilia Montera, I think she's in charge of social services for the entire nation of Chile. And in Peru, it was so well received. And now they want people standing outside 2 hours to wait to get into the hall. In so many universities.
Standing room only.
Yeah. In so many universities, so now they're pushing us to organize it again this year actually, like that, yeah.
So the Bhagavata is migrating around the world.
Yeah, it's becoming, and I would say even the principles and the ideas, like the director of our institute in Peru, Dora Bazan Montenegro de Devoto, she has 5 doctorates. Her thesis for becoming an emeritus professor at San Marcos University, which is the oldest in the Western world, was that the same beautiful bucolic motifs of pastoral love between boys and girls and beautiful celestial things. She traced it from South American authors and poets back to Europe, back to so-and-so in Flanders in the 12th century, and people acknowledging their mentors and also passing the same phrases along. So she went all the way back to Greece, and people told her that's where it stops. But then she came in contact with A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami's, translations of the Krishna book and so on, and found the same stories, the same motifs and everything else, going back to India. That this is the highest love, this conjugal, pastoral, simple bucolic environment is where we'll see the highest manifestation of pure love.
So are we looking at what can be explained by diffusion theory, that an idea comes from one place and it gets diffused around the world? Definitely we can see. Journey to the West, Sun Wukong, is where monkey has to go from China, was sage, to get higher knowledge from India. So Professor Dimitri Kitsikas of the University of Ottawa, 7 different who's, he makes this thesis that India has always been the center, coming from Iran and Iraq on one side, and coming from India on the other side. It's always been the center, of this spiritual perspective like that, the thesis, and defends it quite well. Thank you so much for all your
Well, thank you, Ken.
Inspiring words.
And I hope to meet you again, another future time like that.
I think we will.
Okay, thank you.